Hey, thank you for signing up for my ebook. The download link should be on its way to your inbox. If you don't have it already, hopefully it'll be there by the end of this video. If you still don't see it by the end of this video, make sure to check your spam folder. So the ebook is going to get you up and running with Milky Way photography, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've done a little bit of it, but you want to get into some more advanced topics. You'll get information on, some of the basics like camera gear and settings, and some more advanced things you don't hear a lot about all the time, like lens heaters, a little bit about star stacking, and a little bit on creative edits. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to mention in this video to you is the ebook touches a little bit on this topic called star stacking, but it's something that I think is really important to getting really good high quality Milky Way photos with low noise and more detail in the sky. There's a link in the ebook and on my website to my star stacking article that goes into this in more detail. You can find it just by going up to the menu up top and looking under the training menu, and you should see the star stacking article there. It's also linked in the ebook. That article will cover this in more detail, but basically star stacking is a way of getting capturing basically a lot more light than you could ever possibly capture with just a single exposure. You're limited, of course, with how long your exposure can be based on the rotation of the Earth, so the stars appear to trail in the photos. But with star stacking, you can take really short exposures where the stars don't appear to move. It's basically like spot stars, pinpoint stars, whatever you want to call them. And you take a whole bunch of those photos, and then you combine them together in software, and you get a photo that is essentially, the shutter speed is essentially the accumulated sum of all those exposures combined together. So if you take, for example, if you're shooting on full frame at 14 millimeters at f2.8 and you're doing 10-second exposures, you do at least 10 of those, maybe 20, but if you do 10, then 10 exposures times 10 seconds, that's 100 seconds. If you do 20, that's 200 seconds. So that's 100, 200 seconds of light that you're basically collecting over the course of many separate exposures. But using the software, you can blend them together and average them out and get what is essentially equivalent to a single exposure of that length. It's way lower noise, way more detail in the sky, and it's way easier than using a star tracker. A star tracker, moves the camera with the rotation of the Earth, so the stars don't appear to move. It's really great for deep space photography, and that's what you would use for deep space photography. But for wide-angle landscapes, when the camera's moving, the foreground's blurring, of course, so there's already enough challenges with blending your sky shots and your foreground shots with the camera being still. It's even more complicated when the foreground's blurring. But if you take a star tracker and do 200 seconds, that's essentially the same image result as just star stacking for 200 seconds. So a lot of people ask me why, do I use a star tracker at night? Why don't I use a star tracker at night for landscape astrophotography? And that's why. There's really no point. It's a lot of extra work to set up a star tracker and battery power and all that stuff. You have to align it to Polaris every time, with a Southern Star, every time you want to set up your composition. So there's really no point. Use star stacking, and it's just something that's kind of overlooked a little bit, but it's definitely getting more popular with star stacking. So check that out in the link above, and I hope you enjoy the ebook. And as part of my mailing list, you're going to get some behind-the-scenes stuff coming to you every once in a while, and about basically stories behind some of my favorite shots, what went into them for planning and gear and all that stuff. You'll also be on the mailing list. You're going to be the first to know about workshops. These sell out pretty fast sometimes, so if you want to attend a workshop, it's good to stay on the mailing list. I don't really announce them to the rest of the world until the mailing list has had a chance to to have first bite at them. And like I said, sometimes they sell out before I could even get them out to the rest of the world after the mailing list. You'll also get special offers on, video tutorials, new video tutorials. They're only available to mailing list members, those special offers. I also hold live webinars once in a while, and those are only sent to the mailing list for the live webinar. That gives everyone on the mailing list a chance to sign up for it and register for it if they want to join. And then after the webinar is recorded, it'll be available for replay to anyone on the mailing list, or I'll post it on social media. But if you want to be part of the live webinars and be able to ask me questions and stuff like that, then you've got to stay on the mailing list to actually see those invites to those webinars. And in fact, you'll get a link to my latest, the first webinar I did in late January. You'll get a link to that, to the replay of that in a couple days, and that talks about the new Nikon Z cameras and lenses, talks a little bit about that, and it goes into this whole star stacking versus star tracking thing that I just talked about, but in a little bit more detail in that webinar. So great, so you've got the ebook, and that will get you going with shooting Milky Way photography. But of course, the second half of photography is sitting at your computer and editing the photos. And this is really where you can make a huge difference by having good editing techniques. You can have great equipment and take really nice compositions and photos, but if you can't blend them well, or you deal with the noise, etc., things like that, then it's going to really show in your results online, and even on an Instagram photo, you could tell if there's like a bad blend. So I have video tutorials that talk about this and go through all my editing workflow for landscape astrophotography, including I go through star stacking with it for Mac and Windows. Well, for Mac, I use Starry Landscape Stacker. At the time I recorded the video, Sequator wasn't available, but Sequator is a free program for Windows that does star stacking. You can also use Photoshop, but don't try it. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and it doesn't always work well for star stacking. I also go into a lot of detail on exposure blending in my video tutorials. My landscape astrophotography editing workflow video goes over the whole workflow. My exposure blending for landscape astrophotography video goes over all the exposure blending stuff, and it goes into advanced exposure blending methods in Photoshop with the select and mask panel and combining masks and things like that for getting really clean blends without those ugly blend lines you see sometimes online. And then there's videos on creative edits that will show you how to do basic and advanced creative edits to really make your images pop and come to life. So all those videos are available, all 4 of them are available in my Milky Way Masterclass, and that is normally $218 is the total value of that class. But right now, since you just signed up for the mailing list, you have a special chance, you have a special offer available to you to get it at 55% off. So that's $97 instead of $218. But this offer is only available for the next 30 minutes. So check out the details and preview videos below this video on this webpage. There's details on the topics covered in the videos, the chapters in each video, and preview videos, like little trailers that give you a preview of what the video courses have in them. So check all that out and see if it's worth it to you. And like I said, again, it's only available for the next 30 minutes or however long it's been since this video started. So check the little timer at the bottom of your screen. And again, thank you for joining my mailing list. I hope you enjoy the ebook and get some great photos.